All right, Brooke, you ready?
No, it signed me out of Google. Give me one quick second. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
Wait, let me just make sure we have all the board members in here.
Do not.
We don't have all the board members here yet.
Well, it's 7:30, too bad.
Hello, Suzanne. How are you? Hello, Christy.
Way to go, Gene.
Hello, Nicole. Oh, there's Paul.
All right.
All right, we're all here.
Everybody.
Okay. All right.
Where's Marcia?
Regular monthly meeting of the August 27, 2020 is called to order at 7:30 p.m. Can I have roll call, please?
Mr. Banta,
Here.
Mrs. Frankel,
Where you coming? But she's not here yet. Oh, there she is. She's here.
Mr. Itkin,
Mr. Itkin will not be joining us tonight. He is away on vacation. He apologizes, but this was planned months ago. So I just wanted to make that announcement to everybody and the public. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Sorry. You're welcome.
Ms. Quackenbush,
Here.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Present.
Mr. Santana,
Not here yet.
Mr. Spindell,
Present.
Mr. Barbarulo.
Here. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of the public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Fair Lawn Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof distributed to the persons on the approved list, posted in the Board of Education Administrative Office, and sent to the Bergen Record in the Star Ledger. The announcement posting for the regular monthly meeting, along with the date, place, and time thereof, was distributed on August 13th, 2020. The items to be discussed during closed work session, if needed, of the August 27, 2020 regular monthly meeting may include personnel matters, student matters, legal matters, negotiations and/or grievances, and tactics and techniques utilized in protecting public safety and property. The results of these discussions will be made public as soon as possible. Can everybody join me for a salute to the flag? I have the flag right there on my phone. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
which stands
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Best yet.
Okay. At this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to our superintendent, Mr. Nick Norcia, who has comments to make about certain things. And then at that point, we're going to open up the meeting to the public for any comments on the agenda or new business. So we're going to do all the public comments in one shot, so everybody understands that. Okay? Mr. Norcia, it's all yours.
Also, as far as the public comments go, if you go onto our website, the alert box will pop up and it'll show you how to access Google Forms, which I will open up for you so that you can write your questions into there. I think you'll find it easier than Poll Everywhere. Also, if you go to the app on your phone and you go to the Board of Education where you go to live stream, watch the live stream, it's right, the directions are right there as well on how to access the Google form. So hopefully tonight it should be a lot easier with the public questions for you. So the first thing I want to go over, I'm going to jump around. I'm going to start with our district goals, and then I'm going to jump right into the reopening. Our district goals for the 2021 school year that we are recommending, some of them you're going to see are very much carryover goals, and the other ones will be, besides carryover goals, there'll be some new ones that'll be tied directly to COVID and how we can handle that as a district. The first goal is by June 2021, in an effort to foster and enhance an inclusive and culturally aware educational community, the district will provide support and train district staff to identify components of an equitable school system with an ultimate goal of developing more equitable practices. I sent a letter out earlier this year about everything that's going on in our country. This is something that we've been discussing as a district for the last year or so. We've actually had professional development for our administrators on restorative practices and restorative justice. We started this dialogue pre-COVID, and obviously a lot of things got put on hold. However, things didn't get put on hold in our country. It's a conversation that we need to have as a district, as a community, and as a nation. And I'm proud to make this a goal of ours so that we can continue to have that conversation and set the bar high for ourselves. What I am going to do, though, is I'm going to share the screen so you can actually see the district goals from home, and they're also on our website now. So as I read them to you, you can see along. Okay. The second goal is all districts, and also just to go back to the first goal, says that first goal ties right to our professional development plan this school year, as well as if you see our agenda, you'll see 10 of us that'll be going to a 5-day conference spread out through the year that has to deal with equity, cultural competency, and diversity. The second goal is all district schools. All district schools will become a future-ready school by successfully completing bronze level status to ensure our students and schools are ready for the 21st century. This is a continuation goal of last year. If you remember, we had a conversation where Future Ready School certification process was put on hold while we were halfway through it. So we decided to extend that goal until 2021. The Department of Education is supposed to be taking over the Future Ready status program, the Future Ready certification program. So we're hoping that the DOE will be able to handle that and take that over for us because we put a lot of work into it and we're really proud of that. And hopefully we could continue that torch. The third goal is to support the mental health and social emotional learning and well-being of staff and students by providing programs that foster a sense of community, acceptance, and encourage mindful practices, particularly during and after the COVID pandemic. This was our fourth year. I think our first year was to start addressing mental health as a district. Then it was mental health and social emotional learning. Then it was mental health, social emotional learning, and mindfulness. And then this year, we're going to continue that with social emotional learning as well and how it relates to COVID and everything that we have to deal with pre-COVID as well as post-COVID now. The fourth goal is the goal for the 2021 school year is to develop an enhanced distance learning 2.0 plan. The plan will ensure a robust and quality distance learning model for all students. Time is of the essence, and this work will begin immediately and continue throughout the school year. And this work has already began. We keep saying distance learning of the past is exactly that, distance learning of the past. So we're working on distance learning of the future at this point, or distance learning 2.0. You saw the distance learning schedules and the detailed PowerPoints that came out from the principals that'll show you a more 8 to 3 schedule that models a typical school day and live instruction. And we're going to continue to keep setting that bar high for ourselves. And we thought it was important to create a district goal for that. And the last goal is to provide support to teachers and staff to effectively implement instruction to the new middle school schedule following the completion of the referendum construction and the transition of the 5th grade to the new middle school 5-8 model. Okay, moving on. Okay, after the district goals, so as many of you know, I believe it was almost 2 weeks ago that we decided to go fully remote, 100% remote as a school district. This was not an easy decision by any means. This weighs on us heavily. The best way I could possibly describe it is I was touring both middle schools this week, and it gave me a chance to take a step back and say how sad it was at this point that everything we did for the last 2-3 years to have our middle schools open, ready for September 1, to have our students in them and to see our buildings ready with no students coming back and no teachers coming back into the buildings in our community just breaks our heart. This was not an easy decision. This was not a decision that is going to be popular by any means. We understand this is a decision that's going to impact our families, but I assure you that this was putting our kids and our students and our staff and our community, their safety was our number one priority. And we wanted to make sure that our buildings were ready, that our staff was ready, that our students were ready, and we couldn't in good conscience say we needed to open up at this point. I've heard things along the lines of, didn't Fair Lawn know? Why didn't they start planning? They should have started planning earlier. We did. But just think that every other district in America is ordering from the same places we are ordering from. Every other district is scrambling at the same time as us at this point. Sorry, 1 second.
Nick, can you just let Mr. Santana in, please?
I am.
Thank you.
Then I'm locking it again for security reasons. Okay.
Thank you.
Every other district is ordering. We've ordered stuff as far back as March, April, and May. That is
Sorry. Can you guys see me or hear me?
back. We cannot see you. We could hear you. We could see you now. So we ordered stuff that is still on back order. Other districts, I received a call from another superintendent today who said, you know, hey, listen, I know that you're open, you're remote till October 19th. Is there any way we could borrow some of your supplies while we're still waiting for ours to come in? Everybody is scrambling at the same exact time right now. So I know that this is not a decision that everybody wants to hear. Well, some people do, because some people were struggling with that decision. However, our goal is October 19th. That is our goal. We are going to now spend from now until October 19th looking at what that reopening could look like. And if we have to tweak that plan, look at that plan, look at phases back into the school district, go back to our original plan. But that's exactly what we're going to be doing now. While we go to remote learning, we're going to start looking at what will that October 19th target date look like, and what will a phase in or transition back into school look like. And we'll be updating you with information on that in a timely manner. You know, we wanted to make this decision. We believe me that we really had the parents, you know, best interest in mind. It may not seem like that, but we really did. And, you know, we made this decision almost 2 weeks ago. You see districts today making the decision today and tomorrow, and you're going to continue to see that up until the school year begins. And I'm not begrudging them, because every district has their own unique challenges with it. But we knew that we wanted to give everybody, as we knew that we, at this point, that this was the decision we needed to make for Fair Lawn, and we wanted to give you as much time as possible to plan accordingly. It was not an easy decision, but it is our decision that we did make in Fair Lawn. With that being said, our restart plan that we did send to the Department of Education did come back with 2 minor changes. They were pleased with our restart plan. So our restart plan is before the board tonight. It was part of the agenda that was posted online. It is a public document. And the only thing that changed with our restart plan is a 2-page amendment at this point that says that we were going remote and the reasons why we were going remote. With that being said, I told you that the distance learning plan was updated, and that was part of our district goals. And then the last thing I will say is, you know, one of the big things that we're looking to upgrade here in the district is our air. And part of that air upgrade, I'm going to turn it over to Brooke, our business administrator, and she's going to explain exactly what we're talking about, because I know that's a question of a lot of people. What are we doing with our HVAC, and how can we ensure that our buildings are safe? So with that, Brooke, I will turn it over to you.
Okay, thanks very much. So we started talking about indoor air quality, you know, in the beginning of COVID and seeing what we could do. We always rely on our professionals, so our architects and our engineers. There was a lot of information that was coming out during this time period, and the recommendation landed on, so there's basically 2 different kinds. There's the UV lights, and then there's something called Needlepoint Bipolar Ionization. Talking to our engineers and our architects, their recommendation is a Needlepoint Bipolar Ionization. Basically, the way this works is it's an ionizer that's electrically charged that goes directly into our unit ventilators that are in every classroom or in rooftop units or large HVACs. The benefits of this is that it takes the interior air and it turns it over into fresh air every 10 minutes. It kills 99.9% of viruses and mold and mildew. So it's a great thing to have, not just for COVID, but moving forward. It's definitely an enhancement to all of our buildings. In addition to that, we're also increasing our exhaust fan CFM to bring in more fresh air into spaces that might need that. We're also looking at, just yesterday, I had somebody come in showing us these freestanding units that clean the air with a carbon HEPA filter. So we're still doing the research on that. But those would be for smaller spaces or areas that we feel might need a little bit extra. So we feel really confident about the information that we have. The Needlepoint bipolar ionization units have been tested. So they know that it is effective against COVID-19. So we're moving forward with that. At this point in time, we have had assurance and delivery already for this product. I mean, they're being installed across the district. That being said, I just did want to give a little just point of information that all of this wouldn't be possible and the information wouldn't be without our Director of Buildings and Grounds, Tom Sanko, who's actually on here for retirement tonight. So I just wanted to give a little acknowledgement to that after 17 years of service to the Fairlawn School District, he is retiring. So I just wanted to say thank you to him. And he's definitely a part of the process of us making decisions like this to make sure that we have really good indoor air quality and that we're doing everything we can to ensure the safety of the students and the staff.
Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you, Brooke.
At this point, the public comments are open and comments are coming in. So I'm going to start reading them. Everybody could hear me okay?
Nick, I just wanted to say before we get started, as per board policy, if we're going to go over 30 minutes, we're going to limit each person to speak on their topic to 3 minutes. If they're getting a little crazy, I'll slow them down, but try to limit it to 3 minutes, and please do not speak on the same topic, the same person over and over until everybody else has spoken about it. That's it. Thank you.
All right. The first question is from Alexandra Pavlov. Is teacher shortage due to medical exemption? Also, please share the following information. How many teachers who teach in Fairlawn? Let me just read this one. Let me read it again. If teacher shortage due to medical exemption was one of the reasons for delayed in-person opening, how will it be addressed for October 19th reopening? Will the subs be hired? So we are looking at all kinds of staffing and hiring practices at this point. Everything is fair game. I'm not going to get into the specifics to respect the confidentiality of our staff members and to not violate that. But we are looking at staffing and how we can address that as a district. Up until today, there were a lot of changes to the board agenda, and I kept saying that to the board. I appreciate their patience. I usually don't like to change the agenda right before the board meeting, but we were doing a lot of last-minute hires up until today. How many teachers who teach in all Fairlawn schools have applied for family leave? At this point, it's actually, you could see it on the agenda that there's a couple people that applied for family leave. So that's not confidential, but I'm not going to say who they are. Our concern is if a family leave is 12 weeks, does this imply we will not see reopening to full capacity for at least 3 months? Not necessarily. All right. This is from Oleg Trigo. So in a letter to Fairlawn, parents dated August 17th, you stated that one of the biggest issues for Fairlawn was obtaining PPE. According to Governor Murphy earlier this week, 180 school districts will have remote learning. 59 districts will fully reopen, and 436 of the plans in the state received will have a hybrid model. Please explain how Fairlawn failed to obtain PPE while hundreds of New Jersey school districts were able to secure PPE for their staff. I can't explain why Fairlawn and other districts did. I think every district is dealing with different challenges. I will tell you that if you do look at the number of school districts that did close, you'll see a common theme that a lot of them are very big districts like Fairlawn. If you see a school district that has 300 students in it, looking to buy PPE for 300 students, you could probably go to CVS and pick it up. looking to buy PPE for 5,400 students, 1,000 staff members, also dealing with, staff who may require accommodations. And, it's a different playing field by all means. So larger districts, you will notice that theme amongst many of the schools that did go all remote as compared to a lot of the smaller schools that may be able to open. That's just my own perspective while I look at this and speak with other superintendents. So it's not where Fair Lawn failed by any means. It's really just about, the logistics of it. We ordered additional devices back in May. A lot of them are still on back order. We ordered devices in March. We ordered more in May. I mean, you're talking May, June, July, August, talking about 4 months still. Everyone is looking to order devices in the whole. You try to buy a Chromebook right now, you're hard pressed to buy a Chromebook for your son or daughter. I mean, it's just, this is what we're dealing with right now.
Just want to add also, Nick, that because we are so large, when we are looking to purchase items, we have to follow bid thresholds and purchasing co-op. So to Nick's point, if you're a smaller district, you might be able to obtain those items much easier than we are, because when we go over a certain amount of money, we need to go through different kind of steps in order to obtain that.
And we're not in bad shape with where we are with the PPE. We just don't have everything here at this given moment. And one of the big things is we wanted to go that extra mile and upgrade our HVAC. I mean, and you'll see in the newspaper today, there's some school districts who are just saying, you know what, when it's hot out, we're just going to close school, and they're going to have heat days. And that's not really a practice that I think would be practical for our district. All right, next question is from Eugene Rockoff. Mr. Receiver, please provide a detailed plan on every issue and every task that is preventing safe in-person school open on October 19th as communicated on August 17th. Please make it as detailed as the reopening plan that was presented to the Board of Ed and Public on 7/23. Please can you make sure it covers not only issues, tasks, and risks for October 19th opening, but also steps to monitor, test, and mitigate all the risks along with the timelines for each. According to New Jersey Governor, schools can open for in-person learning today. If your municipality can confirm it's safe, well, since Fair Lawn believes it's not safe, please provide the plan with timelines and milestones that will be achieved prior to October 19th. If there are risks, how will they be mitigated? We would like to receive updates on this plan as soon as they are any changes or delays on a weekly basis at the minimum. Thank you. So, Eugene, I will tell you to please take a look at our restart plan. That's on our website. It's very detailed. It's probably 70, 80 pages or so of a detailed restart plan that we had to submit to the Department of Education. I just went over several of the factors, one of them being HVAC, others being, waiting on some PPE for us to open. But the last thing we wanted to do was to rush and not be safe. And we were running up against that clock constantly. So I'm not going to read through the 100-page document right now, but I ask that you take a look at that and we will be updating you accordingly. Rita Fialovich, what training did teachers receive that would help them engage students? Let me go back and read this way. What training did teachers receive that would help them engage students using remote learning? What programs did the district buy to help with remote learning? And Mr. Narcia, you have vast experience with special ed students. Please provide an explanation how a student that is currently in self-contained classroom and is nonverbal can do remote learning. Okay, so what trainings did teachers receive? We provided professional development opportunities, especially with our instructional technology coaches. We have professional development lined up through the next week, yes, the Thursday and Friday prior to Labor Day for our teachers. I think we learned a great deal over the last 3 months of school. No matter how you felt about distance learning the last 3 months of school, I think we could all agree that distance learning did improve over that time. And we were constantly improving ourselves and learning more. So I think you're going to continue to see that. One of the things that we did add into our schedule is PD that's embedded into our school day every week for our staff so they could take part in that, as well as, once again, our instructional technology coaches who are here to assist our teachers during the school day. What programs did the district buy to help with remote learning? Camille and Natalie, do you want to speak about a few of them? I know that Camille, we went with rethink.
For special
Yeah.
education, we just to help our students who are in our autism classes, some of our students who are nonverbal and who have difficulties, we purchased Rethink before the end of the year. We implemented that through ESY, and we trained our teachers in that who were teaching ESY. We have now extended that training for the first day of school to our multiply disabled teachers and autism teachers, and we're going to look to extend it further. That platform gives not only lessons for teachers, but also information for parents and helps us track data accordingly in a more efficient manner for our students. Well, I'm sorry, and we also purchased a supplemental feature. I can't remember the name of it. It's through our literacy department that was recommended by our literacy coaches and our English supervisor, so that some of the reading lessons can be more engaging for our students online. I have to get back to you. I forgot the name of the extension.
The self-contained question about what are we doing for self-contained students? We are reaching out to all the self-contained families. You should have probably received a survey that came out from Camille DeFranco's office. Due to the fact that it's so individualized, I asked that you would work closely with your case manager. If you have any questions, you could always email any one of us administrators on here. We have our behaviorists working with us as well. But yes, this is not going to be easy. And as you said, Rita, as a former special ed administrator and teacher, this is not ideal on how we would love to deliver instruction by any means, but we're doing our best to keep thinking outside the box and operating in that gray area rather than the black and white for our special ed students. So I think you're going to continue to see us improving on that program as we go, but I implore any of the self-contained parents to look out for that survey, because they should have received it by now. Thank you. All right. Let me just see who wrote this. Oh, Dawn Ebner. Dawn. Congratulations to Laura Kepler. While I don't know her personally, I know that our staff who provide essential services to our district, students do so with compassion and professionalism. Wish her the best in her retirement. While he will be with us for the remainder of the year, I'd like to congratulate Frank Guadagnino as well. I first met Frank when he was a colleague of mine in the health and phys ed department. He has been a well-admired coach throughout his tenure as a wrestling coach and a senior teacher as well. Yes, congratulations to Laura and Frank. Still working on the language of the sidebars, not finalized yet. Please remove it until there is agreed upon language. So, Mr. Green, I thought we were okay with that language that we just.
Yeah, my understanding was the language on the coaches was okay, but if Ms. Ebner wants it removed, we can remove it.
Ms. Ebner, if you could do me a favor, Dawn, if you could do me a favor, if you could look at that, because if that's the case, we're probably going to have to remove all the Schedule C and D people from the agenda tonight as well. So if you could if you want to reach out to Joe or Paul, my phone is here if you want to text us or let us know while I go through the rest of these comments. Because Paul and I were both under the understanding we made that change and that we were in agreement with it. So if you could just let us know within like the next 10 minutes by the time we get to that, that'd be great.
Mr. Norcy, another option would be to approve them and subject to final approval by the board attorney. But I think it's better if Ms. Ebner can get that worked out this evening.
And Paul, while you're there, if you want to shoot Joe a text or something or whatever.
Sure.
Can I ask you a question, Mr. Norcia?
Yes.
I mean, Mr. Green, if this has to be settled as soon as possible, if I'm correct, because you're getting close to the season, supposed to be starting for practices and stuff like that. And I don't think it would be fair to our athletes or our coaches to have to wait till the September meeting to start.
I agree.
I don't think that'd be fair at all, because the season starts in the first week of October. So.
Well, we'll see if we can get it worked out in the next few minutes.
Thank you.
As a physical and health teacher, I'd like to know what was changed and updated in the health and phys ed curriculum. Dr. Lakatina.
I don't have all of the details about that. We have it posted online as soon as everything is done tonight. There are just too many courses for me to know all the details of it all.
What we will do is we'll have Mr. Robinson and we'll reach out to you.
Durso.
Yeah, Ron Durso, and we'll get you that information. All right, next question. Melania Panova. When can we have an answer on the petition about the school bus for remote addresses, even though this is not a priority for the board and you? It's not a priority for the board of us. For the board and us, or myself. We spoke about this at the last meeting, I believe it was, about how the special education students took a priority on the busing at this point, and there was a shortage of bus drivers. In addition to that, the fact that we have to socially distance our students, there just was not, and the fact that the 2 miles was something that we looked at and we were following code with that. But at this point, I mean, the fact that we have till October 19th, we will take another look at it and we will respond to you. But it's definitely a priority of ours. It's just right now, we're trying to do everything we possibly can to keep our students safe with the socially distance, and that's where we are with it. Karina Atron. Does the district anticipate teacher shortage on or after October 19th milestone? I hope not. Alexei Lineteski. Sorry if I am butchering your name a little bit. Question about soft borders. We live in Radburn for 12 years and we were planning to send our kid to kindergarten. We registered, but the remote mode will not work well for our daughter, and we want to take her out of public school for kindergarten. If we do that, we will be affected by soft borders when we register for her next year for grade 1, or will we be exempt like we were this year? If you are grandfathered in, I would encourage you to look at that policy for soft borders. It sounds like if you were here for 12 years, you were probably grandfathered in to stay at Radburn. But if you would like, you could always reach out to us separately aside from this meeting, and we could discuss that. But it sounds like, just shooting from the hip right now, you would be exempt and grandfathered in if you've been here for 12 years. Ilana Shapiro. How will tests be administered during remote learning, and who will be helping kids that experience technical difficulties? Is this going to be back to school soon night for parents to meet the teachers? So I'm going to start with back to school night, and then I'm going to turn it over to any of the administrators or principals who want to take a shot at the testing piece for the students. And technical difficulties, you could always email remote support at fairlawnschools.org. It's remote support at fairlawnschools.org. As far as back to school night, yes, we will still be having back to school night. It will still be virtual. We have the dates here. There's some are on my desk or my conference table. We're just running by them again to make sure there's no conflicts with anything else in the district. And then we'll be getting those dates out to you as soon as possible. But we do think it's important to still have back to school night, especially not seeing your teachers every day. It gives you a chance to meet them. And this was all the principals doing. They felt very strongly about this. I cannot take any credit for that, and I commend them for that. Any of the principals want to talk about potentially how the testing may work?
Just raise your hand and so we know who's going. Natalie.
Assessments will look similar in the sense that, we will be giving students assessments, whether it's a quick assessment like we can use a Do Now for an assessment, exit ticket, and more formalized assessments may be online for the students to take. So we are going to be providing some PD on that the first couple of days of school, and we're going to continue with that type of a focus as the year goes on about the best ways to assess. We have some workshops coming up that we're going to attend to follow up with that as well. We have, the ability to give students tests while we are remote and still be able to see how they are making progress in the various subjects.
Christie.
Dawn just got back to me that they were okay with the sidebar agreement. So it's good news. Thank you, Dawn. I really appreciate that. All right.
Christie.
So I just wanted to
Just to
talk.
confirm, I just been in touch with Joe Tondi and they're good.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Both of them.
Good. Thank you.
Sorry, Christie. Go ahead. Do
That's
yours.
okay. At the elementary level, there's so many different types of assessments that are just as much as they are formal. And we're really fortunate to be able to use many additional platforms that we did not have access to in the spring, such as, Zoom breakout rooms and things like that. Teachers are already participating in webinars and learning more about those things to meet with small groups of students. And that really can give such informal assessment when you're meeting with just a small group and going over a skill to assess, how they're moving along the continuum. So I think so many of those new features are going to lend itself to being able to assess understanding a little bit better.
Thank you. Tammy, did you have your hand up or you were just scratching it? Any other
scratch, I apologize.
No, it's okay. Any other principals want to add in? Okay. Go ahead, Nick. Keep
All
going.
right. Sorry, it's just difficult to read as you're going back and forth.
As I'm going back and forth?
No, me.
Oh, okay.
All right. All right, Melina, will the lessons be presented to live on Zoom during the class schedule? Yes, they will be live. Gunjan Solonsky, wanted to check if we are sure to open in person from October 19th onwards. Will we have everything in place? I believe so. I mean, that's our goal, is October 19th. Some districts pushed it back 2 weeks. Some did the end of September. We picked October 19th. We wanted to be, sure we're shooting for a date that we feel comfortable that we can hopefully return as long as it's safe for everyone. Alexandra Pavlov, how do you cooperate with other towns? Glen Rock, Oradell, Ridgewood, Paramus, Maywood, Montvale, and so on. All the time. My phone does not stop ringing, talking to other superintendents. We all have our own unique challenges that we're looking at, but we are constantly talking. And it's not just Bergen County. It's from Bergen to Morris to, I was speaking with the superintendent in North Brunswick the other day, Hudson County. It's just, we're constantly collaborating and speaking, but each district has its own unique challenges when it comes to opening school. Who has newer schools, who has older schools, whose infrastructure is great, who was already a complete one-to-one district 3 years ahead of us. So everybody is communicating. Rita, did you buy any programs for the regular ed students and gifted and talented students? Yes, we did. Gifted and talented, I don't know if we purchased any new programs for the gifted and talented students. Did we, Dr.?
We bought materials and supplies, but not any new programs. We're basically going to be continuing the same programs that we've used in the past, and we have to make just a few minor adjustments for some of the younger grade pullout.
Why was the outdoor classroom petition ignored, which worked out favorably in other towns? The petition was not ignored by any means. It's just to put up outdoor tents or classrooms for 600 classrooms plus, and look at the weather right now as the skies just opened up on us. Plus, getting zoning and permits to do that outside. Once again, the size of a district like Fairlawn to do something like that, it really wasn't practical. I commend you for thinking outside the box. I think it's a really nice idea. I loved it. One of the things we spoke about in our restart plan was to try to get the classrooms outside to the best degree possible. But I don't think outdoor classroom was going to be the answer that was going to allow us to open up, unfortunately. Next question was from Lana Stone. Lana, why was
Nick, just to add to that, that there are certain requirements by law for what type of tents and structures that you need to use outside, especially with children, and it's for safety and so on and so forth. So it's also a thing you might not have availability to that. So just another point of information.
The next one was the same exact question from Lana Stone. Why was outdoor petition ignored, which worked out favorably in other towns? The next question is Alexander Atron. For families who indicated on a survey that they would need a loaner PC for their child. So the loaner PCs, we're working on disseminating all of them. Hopefully next week, you'll receive something from my office or the technology office about how to pick them up. A letter will be going out or an email. Please look for that. Also, you know, we have a decent amount of Chromebooks. However, with the backup Chromebooks, we also have laptops that are here. The laptops are a little bit older than the new Chromebooks that we have, but we have about a lot of new Chromebooks coming in another week or so. So the letter may say, if you want to hold off another week, you'll probably have a newer Chromebook, or we could still provide you with a laptop. It just may be a couple of years old. But regardless, we will have a device for you. Communication will be going out either by tomorrow or next week about those devices and how you could pick them up. Once again, if you ever have any questions about that, you can email remote support@fairlawnschools.org. Svetlana Kaito, will the HVAC update maintenance be done by October 19th for the kids to come back to school? Will the school be teaching the same contact as in normal in-person classes? Yes, the HVAC should be done by October 19th, and how we will be teaching will be to be determined in the month of September as we look at what a phase-in transition will look like. Debbie Oberlander, is the goal still for 5 days in-person learning for elementary grades after the return date? Once again, yeah, that would be lovely. We have our restart plan is the same restart plan, but we are having very healthy, good conversations about if we don't go with that plan, do we slowly phase in or transition in? But a lot's going to happen from now until October 19th, and looking at the data in the state and our numbers with COVID, as well as what we're seeing happen in other districts as well. Alina Shumalenko, can you provide any statement as a reaction to the protest which happened last Friday? No, I can't. You know, good for you. It was I heard it was a nice, peaceful protest on a Friday night. That is your right. I respect that right. That's the best part about this country. So no, good for you. You know, there's definitely two sides to it, or there's really three sides to it, I guess. But you know, I don't have a statement other than, you know, well done. I heard it was a really nice protest. I read the article in the paper. Joy Basford. According to the requirements released by the state for minimum risk areas, we appear to be, this got cut off. Let me just see if I can redress it. According to the requirements released by the state for minimum risk areas, you know, I apologize. I want to go back now that I went into the previous question. There was a second part to it, and I don't want you to think it says, do you personally understand why the families are doing this? Yes, I understand why the families are protesting. I do. Next question. According to the requirements released by the state for minimum risk areas, we appear to be trying to meet moderate risk requirements for reopening. Please share the requirements on which current 100% remote system was based. I'm not sure I'm understanding that question. I guess my requirement would be to put my head down on a pillow at night and make sure that every student and staff member was back here safe. I did not want to take the chance and say we're not ready to open at this point as we got closer to the date. Prior to that, the governor was not giving us an option to go 100% remote. We felt like we had to, it wasn't we felt, we had to open in some type of live fashion. Once he gave us that option that we could go remote, we continued to look at where we were as a district. We still were feeling optimistic, but as we got closer, we realized that we just were not going to be able to, I wasn't going to be able to put my head down on that pillow at night and say it was safe for us to open in time. Was any thought been given to having a uniform bell schedule for all schools? I don't think a uniform bell schedule for all schools would suit us for several reasons. One, transportation reasons. The other reason is, one, if you have a parent who potentially drops a student off at elementary school, middle school, and high school, and they all get out at the same time, it would put families in a very difficult situation. You usually don't see districts who have elementary, middle school, and high school bell schedules uniformed at the same time to help with transportation and staggering arrival and dismissals. Also, since we just hit that goal level of safe routes to school, I could say it's not recommended by them as well. It helps with the traffic in the district and everybody moving around safely in Fair Lawn. Will students get printed material or is everything virtual? At this point, everything will be virtual. To print out for 5,400 students every day will probably kill a small forest. There was a mention of Fair Lawn High School hosting an in-school SAT day. Will they still be doing that? So yeah, Anne-Marie Koval asked that question. We still will be doing that. We understand that we canceled the SATs in March of last year, right before the governor closed us down. The SATs have been canceled since then, but we had to make a decision at that point what the fall would look like. So we made a conscious decision that we were going to host the SATs. This was back in the spring. We were going to host them in late September and October. And when we host the SATs, we were only going to open it up to Fair Lawn students. We did not want to take a chance with everything that was happening with COVID of students coming in from other states, from other hotspot areas to take the SATs here. So we were only offering it to Fair Lawn students. Due to the fact that our students missed multiple opportunities of taking the SATs, I do not want them to miss another opportunity. So we're going to chunk those SAT dates and PSAT dates to the best degree possible, have a small group of students in our school, socially distanced and safe. We will do all the protocols and necessary requirements to ensure that they don't have fevers and everything we possibly have to do for them. But we do plan on still having those SATs. To the elementary school principals. It looks like it's a little bit longer. How are teachers planning to keep students engaged for several hours at a time who are going into the first and second grade? How do teachers plan to encourage shy students to participate?
Damon, you have your hand up? No? Okay.
Damon, was that you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start. That was to us. I mean, our goal through distance learning is really just, we're looking to mirror that in-person model and transition that into our remote learning. So, our teachers have been working for the past 2 weeks since they learned that we're going full remote on how they're going to bring that classroom environment into the elementary school, which is so important. So the first couple of weeks of remote learning is really going to focus on that social emotional help for our students, and then bring once the students are comfortable in the remote setting and have all the tools they need to be successful, and that's when we'll obviously continue and push the academics. But obviously we've started, and the elementary principals have been talking about it, and now we've had an opportunity the past couple of weeks to work with our staff to build those those relationships, which are so important for those first couple of days of school.
Natalie.
I also want to add that there's going to be a great deal of interaction with the students this year. We have been talking about this, that you will see increasing engagement with our students. So teachers will be touching base with the children every period. And with the use of breakout sessions, it will allow us to do small group instruction much more easily this year than we were able to do last year. So you will indeed see teachers interacting with students live on Zoom much more, and that will really help to keep the students engaged.
Kelly.
We also are preparing these learning to go bags to enable students to have more manipulative and more hands-on experiences at home. Things like having a slate board with a dry erase marker so that when the teacher asks a question, hold up a response, just makes the learning much more interactive. So we think that those learning to go bags will really help students have hands-on manipulatives and things to show their responses other than just raising their hand in Zoom and speaking answers.
Thank you, everyone.
Wait, relax there, Mr. Superintendent. Okay, I got it. Christy.
I wanted to add to that. You know, our teachers are so unbelievably creative. I was so impressed by so many of the things we all were that we saw happening from March to June. You know, I was part of a virtual field trip to an elephant reserve with some of our first graders. Many teachers were designing interactive Kahoot games, and I was in on a class just, you know, with a teacher doing a read aloud, and just how captivated her students were, you know, just by listening to her read a story. So they have so many amazing talents and tricks up their sleeves. I think they learned so much from March to June. It can only improve. The collaboration has been extensive over, you know, buildings and district wide. They're sharing all of these wonderful things that they've done to keep the children engaged, really share, you know, what worked well, and brainstorming ways to further engage them. So I think that you're going to see, you know, much more engagement than you did with even our smallest students this fall.
Suzanne.
And sorry, I feel like we all have to talk, but like, and also during that Wednesday time that we have that time, that PD can really kind of involve that engagement and have, like, you know, those teachers working across grade levels from the different schools to really kind of plan that like more meaningful, engaging activities.
Thank you. We got everybody? Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Garcia.
Is there a project plan that can be made available to the public showing start, status, and completion date of each phase of remediation? This will allow for planning and knowledge of how likely the October 19th target will be made. Yeah, we'll be updating you. Absolutely. Can you talk about the programs, Zoom, Google Meets, that will be utilized during the middle school distance learning, and any training and support available for students before the 8th of September? Any transitional events scheduled for the 5th and 6th graders? So I'll defer to Mr. Weaver and Ms. Schwint on this one.
Nancy, go ahead. You go first. Ladies first, Mr. Weaver.
Thank you, Mr. Barullo. So I'm going to speak just briefly about the transitional events that we have scheduled. So I actually met with my orientation committee today, and we started to design a really wonderful day for our 5th and 6th grade. It's going to be virtual. More information on that will be going out tomorrow to all the families. Also, our 5th and 6th graders did receive a postcard. Hopefully they've all received it by now, with a Google Classroom code to join. I've already been receiving some messages from students in the 5th and 6th grade that they're so excited to be joining, and we're already corresponding with them with that. So we hope to send out more information on transitional activities by tomorrow.
Thank you. Mr. Weaver.
So I think Ms. Schwint covered it all. We spoke by phone today for probably about a half an hour. I speak with her more than I speak with my wife these days. And I appreciate the relationship, professional relationship that we have. And I think the elementary, Paul with his team and working with central office, you know, we've all spent a significant amount of time together. And I think when schools open up on the 8th, parents will certainly, while the situation's not ideal, see the benefits of that work that's gone on over this summer. We will have specific dates out to parents tomorrow for the middle school. They may look different for each level, or they may look different for each school, but we are planning for an orientation for parents. We are planning for an orientation for students. And then we are looking to do some type of common ground type activity, as Ms. Schwint said, virtually. I know Ms. Schwint sent a significant amount of correspondence out to her families. At TJ, we've sent a significant amount of correspondence out via email, social media on the TJ PTO page. So hopefully all parents have received something by this point. And if anyone's on this call and they have not received any correspondence from TJ, I would encourage them to reach out to me at mweaver@fairlawnschools.org so that we can make sure that your email address appears correctly on the distribution.
Thank you. All right. We have twin 5-year-olds starting kindergarten. The schedule that was shared for their age group seems unreasonable to us. How are you expecting children of this age to stay focused in front of a screen from 8:35 to 3? And how are you expecting working parents to manage that? Both those working from home and outside the home, especially with multiple children. What considerations are being given? What are you going to do to address individual family challenges? If they are unable to join every session throughout the day, how will they be impacted academically? So I think a lot of this was covered by our elementary teachers already. And I know there's a couple other people who repeated this question right after it, I could see. So, you know, we have dynamic teachers, and they're going to do everything they possibly can to keep our children motivated. And if we have to make adjustments as we go, we will. And if your son or daughter, and trust me, I get it. I really do. I mean, my wife and I, our daughter's entering kindergarten, and we're dealing with the same thing you are, both of us working parents with crazy hours as well. And it's not easy. It's not easy. We, you know, as far as what will we do if they miss a session or how will they fall behind? I encourage that collaboration with your teacher. I mean, some people are asking me that, like, you know, what happens if my son just misses a Zoom session? What happens if your son or daughter misses a class now? You know, you communicate with the teacher. What did they miss? What do we have to do to catch up? So we really encourage that communication and that collaboration back and forth with you and the principal, the guidance counselor, the CST member, the teacher, whoever it may be. If I unenroll my son and homeschool him on my own, if schools reopen, can I easily re-enroll him in October or whenever schools open for in-person education? Yeah, I would not see why you couldn't re-enroll them. I would encourage you to speak with our community school about registration, re-enrollment, soft border policies. You know, when somebody asked a question about whether they were grandfathered in or not, it should probably be straightforward, but I don't want you to assume that it is always straightforward. So it's better to ask the question and get the correct answer. Have you considered bringing students in on a staggered schedule to reduce student density? Yes, everything's on the table for when we return back in October 19th. And we're going to take this time in September and October to work on that. How does Needlepoint bipolar ionization compare to MERV? Brooke, this is back to you.
A MERV is actually just a filter. So it's a thicker filter that you would put in your HVAC units. We did increase our MERV filters, but there's a component here that you can't just put a larger filter in and expect the unit is going to work appropriately. You'll actually limit the amount of air coming in and out and can possibly damage the unit. So we did upgrade our MERV filters. This is a completely separate process. It's not using a filter. It's actually using an ionization process. So it is basically taking, you know, the electrons in the air and making a negative charge so that the air turns over into a fresh air using the interior air. So a filter would just be taking the air in and pushing it back out through a filter. So this is a completely separate process.
Okay.
So,
just to add to that too, it's not applicable to all of our units.
yes, absolutely.
Was Fair Loan's proposed 100% remote plan approved by Governor Murphy? Our area is considered low risk. As of right now, we have not received any pushback. The question about same bell schedule applied to remote only, not in person. Was some of the live lessons being recorded? Hold on, let me go back and read it, the full thing. Well, some of the live lessons being recorded and provided to those who miss school or need to review it again are unable to connect during a day as they need parents' assistance. That goes back to if they do miss something or they do feel that they need to get caught up on something, I would encourage them to communicate with their teacher or their principal. While you mentioned most of the materials will be available online, I prefer to have some textbooks, workbooks that are used in the traditional classroom. Will those be distributed and when? Besides, the books for reading could always be arranged from the library and picked up by the parents so children could spend some time off screen. The principals will be reaching out to you about that. Why are teachers learning these remote technologies only in the last 2 weeks? Were no plans being done prior to going all remote. No, I had said that they've been working on this since we closed in March. When you say we will open October 19th, if it's safe, what exactly you are missing right now that is holding the school from opening back up? Please be specific. The unknown. You keep hearing stories or reading news articles about a second wave that could come. So for me to sit here and say we will be back 100% October 19th, I would be remiss. It would not be the right thing for me to do as superintendent. So we're doing everything we can to plan that we will open October 19th, but I have no crystal ball to predict that the numbers may get worse in New Jersey or the country, or we could see a second wave combined with the flu season coming in. But I am going to continue to be optimistic and hope we are back here October 19th. I hope you reconsider making Wednesdays online only classes instead of in person when school hopefully opens on October 19th. Please consider cleaning schools every night. Thank you for that. Will teachers be taking attendance, or will parents still need to submit it every day? How much parental involvement will be required for younger grades K to 4 between the hours of 8:30 and 3? And will students have a dress code? Teachers will be taking attendance. The students are expected to be there. The teachers will be taking attendance. You will not have to go on, parents, and do the attendance as you did in the spring. I'm going to go out here on a limb, principals. We haven't spoke about this, but I'm really not too concerned about pajamas. I don't know about you. I don't think we're going to be worrying about a dress code, as long as there's clothes on. I'll give you that. And how much parental involvement will be required? I think you'll see that the first couple of weeks, and I would ask that every kid, it's going to be different. Every kid, it's going to be different. Some children will be okay on their own. Some kids may need a little bit more assistance from you. Some it may take time, but I encourage you once again to have that dialogue with your teacher. The schedule for K to 2 is unimaginable for parents that have to work or may have to send their children to relatives while they work. I understand that you want to mirror the in-person model, but students are not in school. This insistence on having students participate daily from 8:30 to 3 will lead to significant stress on both parents and students. In the end, this may lead to less learning than if you had focused instruction on a couple of meaningful, engaging hours each day that met the state's 4-hour instructional requirement for grades 1 through 2, or the 2.5-hour requirement for kindergarten. We moved to Fair Lawn because of the schools, and we fear we will have to disenroll our children to avoid negatively impacting both their academic record and experience. I'm sorry you feel that way. I definitely don't want to see you disenroll out of Fair Lawn. I will say this, that we heard our community loud and clear that they wanted distance learning to improve. We cannot bury our heads in the sand anymore. We heard parents say it has to model a typical school day. And that was one of the non-negotiables for us as we were planning, that we wanted this to model a typical school day so that we can, our students are not going to have those academic gaps, I think that you referred to in here. I really believe strongly in that. But as I said, we may go the first couple of weeks and say, all right, we have to pump the brakes and revisit this. For now, this is the distance learning model that we'll be starting the school year with. But thank you, and please don't disenroll. I hate to see that happen. During the middle school presentation to the parents in February, there was discussion of adding a guidance counselor specifically to support the 5th grade. Has that person been hired? No, not yet. That person, that was discussed. We're still talking about that. We're still looking at middle school models, but we did pump the brakes on a lot of the hires while all this COVID-19 stuff was hitting us. It was important for us to make staffing decisions that we felt were the right decisions. It was important for us to not just hire and then realize we're going remote now. Not to say that guidance counselors are not important, because they really are. So they were not forgotten. They just were not hired at this point. I think that's all I'm seeing at this point. Is anybody else? It's 48 questions. And it was a lot of several people who kept asking one person asking several questions. All right. All right, at this point, I guess I'm going to turn it over to the board for board comments.
Does any member of the board have any comments on the agenda? Mr. Santana. Mr. Santana, you got to unmute yourself.
I apologize. My camera is going on and off. I am in Pennsylvania right now in the middle of a family vacation, and I'm in the mountains. So the connection is not the best. So I apologize if my camera is going on and off. I don't know if the board president announced I was a little far away. I will be supporting all the items on the agenda except the remote plan. 1 second, please. Sorry. I will be, to open this up, I apologize. All right, I will be abstaining from G1. And I will be voting no on S1 on the remote learning plan.
All right, you can tell us that when we do our voting. Okay.
Yeah, but I would like to explain why, because we're not supposed to make comments while we vote, right?
Go ahead. I got you, Mark. I got you, Mr.
Okay,
Spindle.
so I will be voting no to this plan. It is not in the best interest of our children. It is a disservice not only to our mainstream students, but especially to our special education community. Their regress and recoupment skills have and will continue to be compromised. In addition, a virtual learning environment is not beneficial for children that are learning English as a second language. And also, there are many parents who cannot work from home. And there are many parents who do not have anyone to watch their children. So because of everything I just stated, I will be voting no on the remote learning.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Do you have any other comments? Mr. Santana, do you have any other comments? You said,
I'm finished, Mr. President.
You said G1, you were voting no against G1 too?
He's abstaining.
Oh, he's abstaining. Okay.
I'm abstaining on the minutes.
Okay. Thank
and
you.
I will be voting no on the remote and yes on everything else.
No problem. Thank you very much. Mark, unmute yourself, Mark. Thank you.
The decision to close schools and go remote was not easy for me to make. And I know for all those who were grateful that the schools would be closed and we would be doing remote learning, there were that many, if not more, that were not grateful for the decision I've made. And I am in favor of going remote. I realize that the remote learning impacts on family lives, whether it prohibits the parents from returning to work, whether it makes parents uncomfortable in teaching their children, and also the lack of mental and social and emotional well-being that the child needs. I get all of that, and I had many sleepless nights thinking about how I was going to vote on this. However, I think all the information that the board was given, whether it was the information by
I got you, Mike.
epidemiologists who are calculating the safety of the students and staff, whether it was the debacle of the ability of safely spacing the children on buses or in the classroom, or NGA's decision of what they had on reopening. I felt that it was basically in the best interest at this time, and I'm only talking at this time, that we not reopen school and remote learning. I know that from speaking to many of the parents, the greatest concern they had, as was mentioned tonight in the questions being asked, was what the remote learning was going to look like. I know many were unsatisfied, but they had to understand that the remote plan put together in March was under emergency terms and with little planning and little knowledge of really what was going to happen. Could it have been done differently at that time? Absolutely. But as you heard the comments from the principals as well as the administration, the type of remote learning this time is not going to mirror that of the past. And that also made me comfortable in voting for distance learning. At this time, I really want to apologize in advance of September's opening to all those residents who wanted the schools to be open. I apologize to you for any of the things that will evolve because we are not opening. And with that said, I want to thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Mike.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to thank the administration and especially Nick and the principals. First of all, I really felt that you answered the questions that everybody had, that everybody asked tonight, and I figured and it's exactly what mirrored the discussions that we had in meetings. So Cindy, Joe Quackenbush, and I were the liaisons to the reopening committee, and we would send out to the board what we learned at those meetings, so that to keep the board apprised of what was going on. I was really, really impressed with all of the principals, subject supervisors, the teachers union, the central office staff, because I would say at each meeting, and this is the summer, so there are people that are entitled to vacations and stuff like that, and they were at these meetings. I would say 90% of at least 90% of the people that were supposed to be at these meetings were at these meetings. And they were going through this just like everyone else, just like when the board had their meetings, we were going through this, and we were worrying about, we have such different diversity of people, of kids and families in Fairlawn, and how can we give Fairlawn the best education that we can? And so I was very, very impressed. I support the program. Hopefully, if something doesn't work, if I'm sure if something doesn't work in the plan, that they're going to keep re-looking at the plan, re-looking at what PD has to be given to the teachers. If something has to be changed, something has to be changed. The October 19th date was not a date just pulled out of the air by Mr. Norcia. It was a date that they really felt was a date that we could reopen safely. I know personally of schools, a bunch of schools, that just this week, they waited for their regular board meeting to figure out that they needed to close. So we did it 2 weeks ago to try and give parents the proper notification so that they can make plans, because I realize it's very, very lucky. I'll give you the example of Elmwood Park right next to us, who just made the decision this week, and now their parents didn't know that in 2 weeks their kids are going remote. So we gave as much notice as possible, and I think that was important. And as Mr. Norcia said, if you look in Bergen County, it was mostly the larger districts, but Rochelle Park is also remote. Elmwood Park is also remote, right around here. Obviously Patterson next to us. And other districts have interesting plans, and they're not necessarily looking at that HVAC system that's all you hear on the news is this HVAC system. And I was very impressed with Miss Bartley and how she even explains it, because she really, I understand it now, Brooke, after like the third or fourth time that I've heard it. It's taken that long. So I am voting yes for the plan. I do realize that it's tough on some parents, and I feel bad for that. It's even tough on I have twin first grade daughters and a high schooler and a fourth grader. So Mr. Placenti, I'm really going to be looking at that. So I appreciate all the hard work of everyone in this room. Thank you. That's it, Mr. Barbarella. Oh, and I just wanted to wish all the retirees, we're really going to miss Tom Sanko. He is such a good building and grounds director, and Mr. Guardino and
Right, Mike, you're done. Your time's up.
Thank you. I'm good. Thank you.
Elise. Mute yourself. Okay.
Sorry, I was playing with my mouse. I flipped it around. I couldn't get it to work. So I just want to say that the leaders of tomorrow go to Fair One schools today. And I don't think it makes a difference if it's remote learning or classroom learning. I think that our teams, whether it's the principals, the supervisors, teachers, the students themselves, we're going to turn out leaders because that's what we do. And I'm hoping that, these leaders, something like this ever happens again, that there's a lot of political people that come from Fair Lawn and make their way into, the council, the Senate at the state level. There's so many people that have come from this town. And, I'm hoping that there's a few of them on their way up out of our schools and into, what could be potentially good government, government service. I wanted to say something, number one, about the surveys, because people spoke about a bunch of surveys. We based a lot of information on surveys, but we have to remember how many surveys came back. We didn't get 100% of the surveys. So if 50% of the people wanted remote learning or wanted their children to be in the building, if only 40% of the people sent the surveys back, there's still 60% of the people out there that didn't tell us what they wanted. So we don't like to assume. So we worked with, I think, what we had. And there were many people that were afraid to have their kids go to school. There were faculty that were had concerns about coming into buildings. And there's a lot of concerns that, people don't realize, including things like HVAC. I would guarantee that half the people out there don't know what is it, MERV filters are, unless you've had exposure to that, or ionization filters. So the other thing I just want to say is, somebody also mentioned that Bergen County is really good. Yes, Bergen County is really good. Let's keep it that way. Let's all be safe. We had a meeting the other night. There were people at our meeting. I did not go. There were people at our meeting that did not wear masks, that weren't speaking. I found that very disheartening when I looked around the room, because I zoomed in. But I also want to say, when I say keep it that way, I might have been the lone board member that wanted to go remote from the very beginning, and I know Nick will back me up. But if you look at, one of my reasons were, if you look at Memorial Day, there was a spike within 2 weeks of Memorial Day. If you look at the next holiday, which was July 4th, not even 2 weeks later, 2 weeks after that, when they opened the shore, lifeguards had a party and 20 of them came back with the virus. You see what's happening at colleges right now. There's Alabama, 500 positive tests. So as far as I'm concerned, to me, Labor Day was was a big deal because I actually wrote the governor and said, at least tell the schools to go back October 1st. Because to me, if there's a spike after Labor Day, you certainly don't want to bring it in to the schools. So I'm very happy with the plan. I'm very happy with our administrative team, all of you. And I just wanted to say I will be voting for the plan.
Thank you. Cindy.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to thank the principals that are here tonight. As Mike said, Mike and I were on the committee for reopening, and we did listen in, and I, as well as Mike, was very impressed by what I saw and what I heard, and the enthusiasm, the dedication, and the concern was always about what we are going to do to make it better for our children. I don't think I have ever had to make a decision as hard as this, knowing that there was never going to be consensus on what we voted on. There was going to be people that were absolutely dead set against it, people that were absolutely for it. But you need to know that we always had the children, the staff, our administration at the forefront of our decision. It pains me that special education children, our most at-risk students, are going to have the hardest time, and we can all recognize that that is going to be the case. So we're going to try to think outside of the box to make sure that they get the education that their IEP demands and that we can safely provide to them. We're pulling out stops. We're doing things creatively, because that's what we have to do. We have no other choice but to educate the children. And in order to do that, we have to be creative about it. And we have a very collaborative team. Our subject supervisors, our principals, our central office. Brooke, I commend you. I think that you could probably run an HVAC system in a building now. So if you ever want to change careers, there you go. And I want to thank you for explaining it so eloquently, because I would never have understood it as well as I do now. And I'm excited to see how that is. And I think it is a comfort to know that the air is going to be turned around in, you know, and because people were worried about stagnant air being in the classroom all day. And I hope that this will be something of comfort to parents. I understand the challenges. And I feel for you with the challenges, but I think that the decision to open remote was one that wasn't taken lightly. It wasn't an easy decision to make, but I definitely am on board with Nick and the central office, my supervisors, and my classroom principals. And I thank you for, and also for the Teachers Association as we were working together. It was good to see everybody pulling together and wanting the best for our kids. And Elise is right. The leaders of tomorrow do attend Fair Lawn schools today. And it's not a pep talk, it's a reality. And will there be bumps in the road? We would be really foolish to say, no, everything's going to go perfect. But that's what we're going to do. And we're going to iron the bumps out. There are people in place to be able to handle that. And I believe that it will be done. So I am on board with the remote learning. And I just want to thank you again, Nick, for your team and for your dedication in making sure that our students and staff are safe.
And of course, thank you. And of course, thank you to all our principals who are on here tonight. Really appreciate it.
Well, Gene, I was going to ask you if you had anything to say before me, so I'll let you
Not a
go.
lot, because it's all been said. I have to agree with everything all the board members said. It's a difficult time. Quick story, I won't keep it long. My first vote in 1992 was family life curriculum, and that was a big brouhaha. I look back at that now, and it's like just so quaint. I mean, you take family life, every referendum we ever had, every soft border, and multiply it by 1,000, you don't even come close to this. And I agree that everybody involved in this has done an outstanding job. I'm very proud of everybody who's involved in this. Board members, administrators, teachers, everybody. And I know we're going to get through this. And I have great faith in administration, the people of Fair Lawn, that we'll come through this even stronger.
Thank you, Gene. I just real quick, I just want to, because I'm not going to repeat everything. I do agree with what everybody said. Nick knows from the beginning I wanted the children in school. But when you look at everything, I think first of all, putting this HVAC air system, quality system is actually going to be beneficial for the rest of the future. It's not just for this, it's going to help us and make our schools that much safer. I hear people saying about other districts. Do you actually know what the other districts are doing? I know 2 districts that I was with a teacher yesterday doing a job, and she works in Ridgewood. Her air conditioners don't even work in her classroom. She's going back next week. Okay, kids are going in there. All right, I don't know if they're going to fix them before then, but I'm just saying. So when people say, well, what other districts are doing, until you know exactly what they're doing, you can't judge. You can't compare apples to apples. I want to thank all the principals and administrators here. You guys have been working tirelessly, as well as all the committees that have put together. We were all very adamant to have a full live day instruction. One last thing. I know it's very difficult. This decision was not easy. Parents, it's very hard for parents that don't have family here. So this was not easy. But at the end of the day, as Mr. Norcia said, and I know I'll probably speak for the rest of our board members, I want to be able to put my head on the pillow and sleep properly at night. I can never sleep well. I don't sleep well anyway, but I can never really sleep well knowing that any child or staff member might be in danger of getting sick. You have to understand something also. When these children leave the school, when they're at school, we don't know where they go. And they could actually go someplace or a party, especially after the holidays, or someplace, and somebody can contract something and then you come in. Listen, we have to get back into school. And I think October 19th is the right deal. But, as Cindy stated, the special ed children, that my heart is breaking right now. And I think Nick, probably every day, I probably ask him about 8 times a day, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? So, like I said, hopefully we can get through this. This is unprecedented, okay? That's the last thing I want to say. This is unprecedented. Everybody's life changed 180 degrees back in March. Nobody is living their life today the way they did back in January. You're not. And we don't know when it's going to be, if ever. So we all have to work together. We all have to support each other, okay? And we have to support what we feel is best. And as Mark stated, it's hard. I mean, I see people all over the place, and my heart breaks. But you know what? At the end of the day, these children are going to be safe, and everybody else is going to be safe. And, way back when, and there's a few of us on this screen right now that'll remember, but we did a lot of watching of, as it's on our plan, Mr. Rogers, and a lot of shows like that we learned a lot of things just by staring at a TV. We all know what Sesame Street has done for all these children all these years. So if they could do it, I mean, maybe some of the teachers got to dress up like Big Bird. I don't know. For the kindergarten kids, and Barney. Nick, put that in the budget, Nick. Get a couple costumes. We might need them. I think we can get through this. So, again, I want to thank all of you for everything you've done. And hopefully we'll get through this. And also to all the retirees, and Tom, I've worked with very closely for the last 10 years. And Frank, I know very well. And I want to wish them all the success and happiness in their retirements. All right, that being said, we have everything said by the board comments. So at this particular point, I'm going to go to the agenda items, and we had agreed that we will, Mike, you have your hand up?
I just want to say, please no Barney. That's it.
We can say a lot of things, Mike. So we had agreed what we're going to do is we had discussed as a board. We are going to vote on the items all in one shot. So what I need is a motion for G1 to F6.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Can I have roll call, Ms. Bartley? Just unmute yourself.
Yes.
Thank you.
Here I am. Mr. Banta.
Yes.
Okay. Mrs. Franco.
Mrs. Franco.
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Santana,
Staying on,
As I can you hear me?
yes.
Yes.
You're gonna abstain on G1.
Okay,
and no on.
I'm gonna stay in on G1, the minutes.
Yeah.
Voting no on the remote, instruction S1, and yes on everything else.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr.
you.
Spindell,
Yes.
Mr. Barbarulo.
Yes. Okay, at this time then, what we have left is any board comments and any new business. All right, seeing that we have none, at this time then, I need a motion to close. Who said that?
Frankel.
Second.
And Mike second.
Wasn't there an addendum?
Oh, yes, I apologize. Thank you, Mr. Banta. I apologize about that.
Quite all right.
Mr. Norcia, would you please read the addendum? We have to vote on an addendum.
Yes. I'm just opening it back up.
So we need a motion for addendum 1.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
The board approval to furlough personnel. The board approves an unpaid furlough for the job categories as listed on the attachment for board members only.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Could I have roll call, please?
Mr. Banta,
Yes.
Mrs. Franco,
Elise, yes or no?
Yes, I said yes. Can
Oh,
you
we
hear?
couldn't hear. No, we couldn't hear you. Okay, now we can.
Ms. Quackenbush,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Santana,
Can't hear you.
Muted.
All right, there you go.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes.
and Mr. Barbarulo.
Yes. Okay. At this point now, we have nothing else. Can I have a motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Thank
Any
you for
nays?
coming, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you for
everyone.
coming, everybody. Have a
Thank
safe
you,
night.
Ron.
Have a good
Thanks,
Labor
Bob.
Day weekend.
Good night.
Thank you.
Have a good
Aye.
week.